Greetings, this is Kitchen, and welcome to my overview for Nurgle in Sombre's Warhammer mod. In this video, I will talk a little bit about this nation, what do I think about it, but of course I'm by no means an expert in Dominions 5, so take what I say with a grain of salt, but I like to think I'm not awful. Following the overview, there will be a showcase of my god that I'll be using in a game that will follow up. So yeah. Let's jump straight into it, and let's go with troops first. So we've got the Chaos Warhound. Nothing wrong about it, it's cheap, limited recruitment unit that you can just use to grab lances. To be fair, it has pretty good attack values, and it's really not bad actually when you look at it. Of course, the main issue is undisciplined, low morale, and magic resistance, and no protection, but like compared to regular dogs you can get, for example, with Ulm, yeah, that's way better. And of course, they have also mutated variants that can have like armor piercing attacks. So I guess some weak units, even Chaos Warhounds, can chew them through. They have Marauders. So Marauders are interesting case for Nurgle. They have, in my opinion, out of all three Chaos factions that are currently in mod, they have the best variant of a Marauder, being the one with a large shield. They are the ones that you start with. And if you could recruit those guys with a tower shield as a conscious choice, I'll be probably using them a lot, especially early in the game, because they're actually very durable thanks to that tower shield. But because there's that whole randomness, and we can see that the variant is also Morningstar and throwing axe and shield, which is and also Forsaken Marauder, which is somewhat more killy and tanky. Not bad unit at all. It's slightly above average cost-wise, but it's militia without problem. So solid troop. You can expand with them quite well. Murder Hunters, which are they're interesting. They're low on resources. That's their main upside. They're like half of the cost of the regular guys. So basically, that's the reason. That's the main reason you probably want to get them. Is in a low resource provinces if you want to get some chaff, if you want to get some lance catchers, if you're trying desperately to get some units. Otherwise, I wouldn't be recruiting them. Well, javelins are solid. The attack is decent quality. So nothing wrong about them. In some pinches, some raiding, you can totally get them. Now, Murder Berserkers. I don't like them. I don't like them at all. They have Berserker 3, which is really good. They're very expensive. They're very expensive for the lower durability they offer. Like 12 protection, 16 HP. I mean, it's enough that they will often survive a hit, and but that will also often result in them getting wounded, losing limbs, and stuff like that, or just straight up getting one shot. And again, they're pretty damn expensive. If they had better armor, that'd be much better unit. But of course, why would they? They're low on resources though. So for the resource cost, if resources are concerned and you want to get as much killing power as you can get based on resources, and gold is not an issue, no, those guys are totally valid. They are definitely choppy, but I personally don't like using them. Just too much attrition if you try to use them for expansion. And for general combat, I think you have just better options, more efficient ones. Now, here is the star of Nurgle. So Marauder Light Horsemen are by far, I think, the best Marauder variant out of all the Chaos factions currently in mod. The reason for that is they start with 17 defense. They also have light lance charge. And javelins, I mean, they're okay. You can throw some javelins before engaging in melee, but the big deal is the 17 defense. We have a good enough shield, so when attacks land on parry, the protection total is quite solid. Those guys expand really well, very efficiently. I will be relying on them on my expansion. They can be also used as solid raiders. You have to remember that if you're playing Warhammer mod, some races have just really good PD. So even really good light cav like this can have trouble against semi-decent PD dump. So 25 gold, I think this is great value. Those guys are really strong. You'll really quickly get the first experience star on them, so their stats will go to 18 defense. And again, light lance guarantees you often kills on a charge against a lot of indie types. So like to give you a comparison to Korn, Korn has basically same chassis, except cost and all, probably low in resources, but they don't have shield. And because of lack of shield, their defense is like low. It's really low. I don't know. I don't even know. I think it's 13, but 13 defense versus 17. I think it's actually lower than you would think with the shield. I don't remember what exactly causes. Maybe they have slightly heavier armor. I don't quite remember. Let's jump to the actually last Marauder type. So it's Ashen Horseman. I don't know. I never use those guys. It's a two-handed weapon, which is sweet with length 3, so it can repel with decent attack, but they're quite expensive. And the scythe damage, again, it's really good damage. It's comparable probably to the light lance on an initial charge, but their defense is nowhere near what the light horsemen have, and that's the main stat I'm looking for in my light cavalry. I want them to be surviving the engagement, and those guys will not. But I could see them maybe used as some flankers and again some high hit point, low armor, maybe low defense units. I'm sure they could put in work chopping people. But yeah, I'm not a big fan. I don't think I recruited them in my test games or in my actual game either. I just didn't feel I needed all. Maybe I'm missing on like crazy troop, but I don't think this does it. Like again, 5 defense difference. And again, the other one have light charge to balance out the initial hit compared to the scythe. Yeah, I just think light horsemen are better. We're gonna go into like the Chaos Warriors last. So next are Chaos Ogres. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. Again, I think Chaos Ogres are really good for all Chaos factions. I think they actually might be the worst for Nurgle, and the reason for that is the damage type they come with. They come with a hammer and spiked mace, so they alternate between bludgeoning and pierce damage. Sure, if you're going against something that, a monolith and similar constructs that are resistant to damage except of blunt, yeah, they can put in work there. But they have good protection, like 18 body protection is very good, but they're resource intensive, and if you want to get something resource intensive for similar cost, why not just go for the Chaos Warriors, right? But they're more killy initially. I would say they're more kill initially than Chaos Warriors, probably because of dual wielding. But the other Chaos Ogre variants from Slanesh and Korn, they have better weapons in my opinion. Of course, just to point it out right now, as a Chaos Nation, all units basically have a little bit of cold resistance, and because this is Nurgle, they all have a little bit of poison resistance, varying degrees. And also snow move, and often wasteland movement as well. So yeah, nothing wrong about Chaos Ogres. They can put in work. They're tanky. So totally valid unit. It just I prefer getting warriors. Let's get to the last cool heavy armor unit. So Bile Trolls. I tried using them in my test games. Maybe I'm dumb or something, but I can't get them to work. The reason is because they have the Spit Bile and Troll Vomit is actually melee, right? But Spit Bile and they're undisciplined, so using them means that they'll be basically trying to Spit Bile initially instead of... You cannot just tell them to run to combat. They have kind of low morale and low armor, so it's actually very easy for them to die or rout. And also they're limited to recruiting how many? Like, I don't know, 2 per turn, I think? So maybe not for the limited recruitment, that would be more useful if you could actually get a critical mass of them. But getting 2 per turn, it's like they're expensive. You don't want to use 2 or 4 of them only, and you're not gonna wait 3 turns to get enough to expand with them. So if they're not very useful for expansion, at least in my opinion, although recuperation is pretty good together, again, they have really good regeneration. So if you can paint them with some protection and most body, maybe later on in the game, I could see using them. And again, the Troll Vomit is a very interesting attack, being acid with area of effect. Of course, it's not always used, but they are killy, that's for sure. Just lower morale for high HP unit that can break easily, undisciplined, and high cost with limited recruitment are my issues with it. That's why I will also not be using it probably at all. But the model looks sick. I actually really like it. It's like a river troll a little bit. So that's for the Marauders and non-warrior units. So let's get into the Chaos Warrior. So Chaos Warrior for Nurgle are they suffer from Ulmish obsession in general. Nurgle suffers from Ulmish obsession of Morning Stars, which I'm not fan of because of that -2 defense malice. But hey, being cracked humans on Chaos, they have really high strength, really good stat, a very high armor, great morale, above average magic resistance. I mean, this is like elite troop, and you pay for that eliteness. To be fair, you pay for it, both resource-wise and gold-wise. 14 attack, 16 attack against shield, so militia. That's why, you might as well just expand with those guys instead of using like ogres, because those Morning Stars will be snapping those necks really easily. Tower shield is great, like you're immune to range fire pretty much. Occasionally, if you run into crossbows, they'll pierce you, but that's whatever. And of course, when you recruit Chaos Warriors, just like with other Chaos nations, you have two more variants. So one with the Tower Shield and single-handed weapon. And the other, in this case, comes with two-handed mace, which again, two-handed mace is not as good as two-handed axe. Not at all, but it's still really killy guy. They like probably straight on infantry fight if you're not looking at sacreds. Chaos Warriors beat any other nation, I'm pretty sure, in a game. So it goes for Nurgle, Slanesh, Karn. Again, you pay for that. But hey, for example, Dwarves have only 5 gold cheaper units, 25. And gold cost efficiency, like if you have same gold of Chaos Warriors, same gold of Dwarf Warriors, for example, Dwarf Warriors absolutely get annihilated. So hey, that's that. Then we have Chaos Knight. So those are pricey boys. And again, similar story with like Black Knights for Ulm, which again, Ulm is my favorite nation if you haven't figured it out from my other videos yet. They have Morningstar. That kills their defense a lot. But still, it's not bad. It's a really heavy armor, so it just shrugs off most of the hits. And stats are still above average. Being Cav, they don't suffer from fatigue that much, or fatigue is like secondary effect. That comes like much later in the game, honestly. But they don't suffer from harassment nearly as much. They have heavy charge on the lance, so that lance will basically, it can one-shot something like that Chaos Warrior. Even, maybe not through the shield, but in general can do it. But of course, they're really expensive. Not much to say. They're really expensive on both gold and resource, so it's just really good quality heavy cav. You can totally also make a build that relies on more scales than sacreds. If you go growth, for example, and max production, but you want to probably max production anyways, unless you want to completely not rely on your Chaos Warriors and just go for more others, which that might be something you want to explore. And similar like Chaos Warriors, these guys have promotion 50 and those have 40. And what it does, it turns them into sacreds. So let's take a look at the Cav sacred variant. So Chosen Knight of Nurgle is a size 4, so I'm not a fan of that, but it's decently tough. The defense goes up a little bit, it's just more elite again, but because it has stupid Morningstar, the defense is not nearly as high as it could have been. Like, come on, if it had like Broadsword, I think Broadsword is 1, it could have been 17 defense base. Way better, right? But the unique thing about them is they have Swallowing Maw, which is a chance to just eat size 2 or less. It's a chance. If it was like always used, that would be a different story. But I mean, there's nothing wrong. It's a really good sacred, of course. But recruiting them is a bit sketchy because 140 gold is a lot. That's a lot. And you build Turmoil, pretty much guaranteed. You're crazy if you're gonna go Order with Chaos, I must say. They have Affliction resistance, so that's nice. That gives them extra longevity, so they don't take stupid wounds. And going with Team of Nurgle, a lot of the units also have disease resistance. Although it surprises me that they just straight up don't have 100 on the sacreds. The mages do have 100, at least a couple of them. Yeah, the typical code 3 resistant, and in case of Sacreds, the poison resistant goes up to 10 from like 3, right? I believe it was 3 here. Oh, sorry, it was 5 and 5, so it goes 10 to Chosen. So yeah, pretty good. You know, for size 4, I would say that purely as a cav, Slanesh 1 is better because you get 2 per tile. And also Korn has size 4 cav, but it's Juggernaut. And Juggernaut, I feel like it's just a better also like size 4 cav because Juggernaut has built-in magical attack that hits twice. And yeah, the axe is also better weapon than Morningstar, so that's that. And now we have 2 variants for the troops, which is unique for Nurgle. Other Chaos factions have only 1 foot sacred. So first one is Chosen Warrior, regular one. So they have Flail. And the Flail swings twice. So, you know, with I'll be returning out to because I feel like there's a lot of similarities between Chaos factions and in general, but I think the most with Nurgle. So also has flails, but the difference is that flails have 16 base attack. So now we're looking at 20. That's significantly more already. And then it's a sacred. So what do you do with sacreds? You give them some strength, and strength stacks very nicely with two-handed flail. That guarantees that, you know, first attack might miss, second one will kill. Harasses people like nobody's business because it's 3 guys per square. Great protection, great morale, above average magic resistance again. Very good stats besides defense because it's a flail. But hey, 15 attack starting, so that's awesome. 60 gold, super fair price for them. I pay for that happily. I will be mainly relying on those guys in my game, as you'll watch. Of course, just to point out, Chaos Warriors in general, they suffer from only 12 map move, which is more than again, but that at least gives you 2 friendly provinces move, so that's okay, as long as there are no some weird terrain types, but thanks to the snow move, winter and cold scales are not a problem. And Swamp Survive, Wasteland Survive, so good survivals that actually help you with various terrains. And finally, a unique sacred for Nurgle is Putrid Blightkin. So you can recruit only 1 per month, but there's a chance that your Chaos Warriors that level up, they will become Putrid Blightkin instead of Chosen Warrior. And those guys serve a little bit different role. I would say they're more of a bodyguard type, except they don't really have bodyguard. But they have crazy affliction resistance and 100% disease. So those guys just, they can take damage and they don't care. 30 hit points. They're size 3, so they're big boys. The grandfather Nurgle really likes those guys. Quite expensive. Axe attack this time instead of stupid mace, so this will really hit hard thanks to slash. And they have also those demon flies, which are basically a repelling attack, which is really awesome. Give those guys some attack, and yeah, they're repelling like crazy as well. Unfortunately, you cannot mass those things. Oh, I also want to point out that they have incredible shield, like -1 defense, 7 power shield. That's just better kite shield. Accursed. I guess that's Nurgle's blessing. So you can't really mass those guys. If you make a lot of Chaos Warriors, you'll get some more than you normally get from recruitment, thanks to level up. So, but very awesome unit. They would be crazy if they were actually massable. I feel like they would be really, really good. So that's troops. Let's go over commanders and then about summons. So scout, nothing to say really about it. It's a scout because Nurgle has some poison resistance. Same story about Murder Chieftain. It's like the basic commander. Leadership 60 and can sail. Sailing is interesting actually. I kind of forgot that they have sailing. Beastmaster 2, if you want to use dogs. Why not? Tax collector as well. For cut-off provinces. Sometimes can happen, sometimes can help you. Yeah, nothing wrong about those guys. Really solid commander. 60 leadership too. So, and there's also some other Horsemaster, which has less leadership, but he's designed to run with your light horseman, right? Yeah, pretty good chassis overall. Why does it have less defense? I think, oh right, it actually wears heavier armor than the light horses, so pretty cool as well. It doesn't have sailing though. Plague Doctor, so yeah, let's go over him. So that's like a spy, so better scout. It has stealthy 50 only, but... And it's 40? No, it's 52. So it's not maybe better in hiding, but it gives you more information. And, has the cool mechanic of instantly uprising and spying, if you want to go for it. It can heal disease. That's pretty cool. Sometimes you'll get disease on your unit, so you can clean it off. It's gonna be rare for you to get disease, but when you do, hey, why get wounds from it, right? It kills population, but it's only 10, so you can live with that, really. Their mechanic is, as it says here, Plague Doctor increases the chance of one of the Nurgle plagues. I will talk about plagues after commanders, before the summons. We have Aspiring Champion, so that's like also unique mechanic for Chaos factions in the mod, but it's same for Chaos factions. They changed their weapons, so Slanesh has sword and a shield, I believe, and Core Knight also is dual wielding. It's just not a Morning Star, but something else, I think. Sword and axe, I think. So those guys are really cool because they have actually good leadership. It's just low value. They're very they're almost like out of the gate thug. It's just they don't have really defense, but you can mass them. You start with 2 CP forward, so you can get 2 per turn. And that's what you'll see me doing. And I think that's very ubiquitous strategy for people playing Chaos faction, where you get out a couple rounds of Aspiring Champions. So they start soaking experience. Because when they level up, they have the whole path to the ascension of becoming Demon Prince, or failing on the way there and becoming Chaos Spawn. So I think it's totally worth to get a decent number of those early on, so they go around and soak experience. And they're also very killy, so with good enough armor, as long as you don't run into cavalry or some shitty mage provinces or ethereal provinces, they will do really well in killing indies as well. Now, time for the mages. So shamans. Shamans are amazing. Shamans are amazing because the cross buffs are great, especially the water one. Nature water means moss body. Nature itself means protection. Death means, it doesn't mean scaleless in case of Nurgle, because Nurgle actually has unique spell that creates Nurglings. So that's like their scaleless spam, that every Marauder Shaman has a cross buff, Death Nature for it. So yeah, they make Nurglings. That's really cool. And air, I feel like it could be useful in sense that this is your only air access, actually. So besides finding some indies with better one, but... or maybe I'm lying. I think the Nurgle Sorcerer Lords also have air access, but I might be misremembering. We're going to see that in a second. So air is a little bit less useful, but it gives you some crafting, gives you some basic site searching. Maybe you're going to get some air income thanks to that. But those guys are awesome. They're also fast, and they're great fluffers for both your troops, thugs, and super combatants. Can't say a bad thing about them. Now, Sorcerer of Nurgles. So, quick thought about magic in general for Nurgle. I feel like Nurgle's magic is slightly worse. It's different, but it's slightly worse than Slanesh, because Slanesh relies on astral and air and blood, and Nurgle has nature and death. And Slanesh, I think, also has death. From Marauders, at least. Maybe not from their Sorcerer Lords. I'm kind of misremembering. I think, but if I remember correctly, Slanesh can get slightly higher paths in air and astral than Nurgle does in theirs. I might be misremembering. But of course, not to say nature is one of the best, if arguably not the best path in general. But for combat purposes, air and astral are, I feel like, better for late game, elemental spam, communions and stuff like that. And you'll be able to maybe have some sub-ups with Nurgle, but because it's random, it's not reliable either. But of course, much better mages than Khorne, because Khorne doesn't really have mages. They have crafters and blood summoners and shamans as well. The Sorcerer of Nurgle, same path as Shaman base, and is a priest. And yeah, can bump himself to Death 2, Nature 2, and comes with random path of those. And they're perfectly fine. Thanks to blood, you can grab communion. Fire, it's I feel like it's mainly for crafting items, honestly. Same with earth. Air at least gives you the opportunity to use a gem to get earth power, and then I don't know, and then use more gems to cast some spells. Still, I feel like they're mainly just for getting Nature 2 and painting wooden warriors on your troops. I feel like that's their main goal. They're not bad by any means. They're solid researchers as well. Much less efficient than shamans if you go magic, of course, but hey, they come with magic stuff, so and Chaos Plate Curious, so they're actually quite durable mages from the recruitment as well, so that's not too bad. Yeah, but I feel like Nature 2 is the best you could get. Dev 2 is solid too. Like you can give them stuff, and you know we're talking. It's a Skelet spam or Nurgling spam. It depends which one you choose. So yeah, they're pretty solid. And we have Sorcerer Lord. So Sorcerer Lord, it's definitely worth focusing your capital on getting those guys only. I feel like after initial turns of recruitment, because they come with actually double pathing Earth, which is very big if that happens. And of course, they also break you to Death 3 and Nature 3. So with stuff, that's Death 4 and Thistle Mace Nature 4. And there's also Water Random, which gives you Fall Vapors, much easier than like trying to give items to Shaman. So you have Fall Vapor Caster here, you have potentially Earth Power, Legions of Steel, Strength of Giants caster. You have Rigor Mortis caster. You have Darkness caster. Fire is here. Like I don't know. You probably can use it for some things. Like I don't know, making booster once you're at Construction 6, or casting some Fire Death Crosspath. Yeah, it's whatever. You really want those Earth 2 or maybe Earth 1 Water or Blood 1 and Water. And of course the Death 3 Nature 2. Those are the important crosspaths, right? That determine how you want to use the Nurgle Sorcerer. I feel like if you get one Earth, it's best to get the second Earth, but of course the chances for that are low. That's why you want to get a lot of those guys. They come with Fortune Teller because why not? And they're highly poison resistant, disease resistant completely as well, so pretty cool, pretty cool. Expensive though, and long recruitment. That's why, I think it's worth dedicating your capital really making those guys once you get a couple extra forts to cover your recruitment of shamans and regular sorcerers. And I forgot, of course, there's Exalted Hero. So Exalted Hero is what aspiring champions turns after getting that 40 experience. So that's why it's worth getting those level ups. And this guy's like definite upgrade. So first of all, he gets Kite Shield and 2 attack flail. 2 attack, 1-handed flail. That's actually impressive. So this guy is, while having only 1 weapon, is still quite killy. He increases in size, gains some bulk, gains some hit points, gains recuperation. That's the big deal. That's how you will heal all the wounds that your aspiring champions might have gotten. Unsurroundable 3, so I mean, hell, they can straight up fight. Maybe they're not like out of the gate thugs, but they can hold the line together with troops and be a good point of power increase. And of course, in their case, they require Dominion 7 to be recruited straight out of the capital, which you probably that's so you don't get them instantly, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure that's why it's the case. If you could recruit those guys from the turn 1, oh, that would be really good. Like starting to get experience straight up for the further forms and really good leadership out of the gate. Yeah, that'll be probably a bit too good. And that goes for, of course, all the Chaos factions. Still, those guys also require 6 Dominion, and those guys require 5 Dominion. What I like to do, what you'll see me do is, I think I'll Prophesy Scout, and I will just be preaching my capital initially, just so I get that Dominion to actually make guys. I promise I'm gonna come back to the Plague, so Plague Doctor. There are 2 plagues for Nurgle. There's Nurgle's Rot, and there is Zombie Plague, I believe it's called. And one is way better than the other. Nurgle's Rot is way better than Zombie Plague. What Zombie Plague does, it kills, I think, 10 population of the province it's inside, in your, of course, if it's your province, your dominion, per turn, and it gives you a bunch of zombies. The actual gain of zombies is quite high, so you get quite a lot of them. And zombies are like slightly better soulless. They basically have 2 attacks, but their stats are abysmal, so They're like, they can disease on attack, but good luck hitting and damaging anything with them. They're basically your siege chaff and your patrol chaff and your chaff. They're your chaff. And you get them in a province that has Nurgle's the zombie plague. And if it was just it, like fine, that's cool that Nurgle has that. But there's Nurgle's Rot, and Nurgle's Rot is a chance that the province with Nurgle's Rot will spawn you. I think it's like 25%. Will give you a couple plague bearers, and we'll see what plague bearers are in a moment. And also, there's a chance that the province with Rot will give you some death gems. So basically, you have no control over what plague spawns first, and it's also random chance if they will spread or not the province nearby. You can try and use Plague Doctor to speed up that spread, as it says in the description, but it's still random. And what you will see, it's spoiler because it's my work considering for you when you play your game. I gave feedback to Sombre about that, and I hope he'll change it, because what you'll see in my game, what's going to happen is that I will have Nurgle, the zombie spawn first as a plague, and Nurgle's Rot will also spawn like turn later or two. But what will happen is that Nurgle's Rot will not spread at all, like it will be failing the chance whatever it has. But the plague will spread like crazy. I think it will have good initial success of spreading, and then every province with it, I think, has separate chances of further spreading. So what will happen, and what it can happen to you as well, is that the zombie plague will spread to all of your provinces. And okay, cool, you'll be getting a shit ton of soulless everywhere, which can be good and bad. Trust me, sometimes it can be bad. But yeah, it's a chaff. It's a chaff. You can use it for sieging. Awesome. But if you have like 20 or 30 provinces, if you're doing well in the game, and all of them have a side, like, wouldn't you want maybe like 3 to 5 provinces that give you soulless? Because you do get a fair number of them, so that'll be plenty enough to have only a couple provinces for the purposes of chaff and sieging. And wouldn't you want like all of the other 15, 25 provinces to give you a really good troop, like actually elite summon demon, and actually sprinkle you some dev gems? The imbalance between those two, it's not that I think that Nurgle's Rot by itself is too strong, because it's a chance. Like by itself, it really will not give you much value if it's just one province. But if it's more provinces, yeah, it's a really good mechanic that gives you a big power boost. But if you by a chance fail, you're kind of screwed. And it's gonna happen to me in this game. I'll have literally only one Nurgle's Rot province for the whole game that will give me maybe like 8 plague bearers. Just unfortunate. I hope Sombre will do something about it, because it's pure luck. It's pure luck. If you're lucky and you'll get Rot everywhere, you'll be in much better position. So speaking of plague bearers, let's take a look at the summon. So we have zombies. So all right, those are the zombies. So 4 or 5 attack. Yeah, it's absolute dog shit. So you're not gonna be hitting anything with it. It's what? Armor negating poison and disease and whatever. Yeah, they are slightly better soulless. They're nothing else. And then we have Nurglings, which are I think the spell spawns 4 of them, and I think there's extra 1 per level. There might not be extra 1 per level of nature or death. But yeah, they're cool because they have built-in magic damage with good attack. So you can use it against some. There are some nations like Vampiria, for example, or Nagash, that might be using Cairnbraves, which are ethereal ghosts. There you go. You have your tool. You don't have to have magic weapons. You'll just kill them with Nurglings. No problem. And they come with Invul 9, so hey, against mundane troops with 7 hit points, they can actually survive some hits. Why not? They're really cool. I really like Nurglings, and they are so happy. And here are Plague Bearers. So that's the unit that you can be getting for free from Nurgle's Rot. It's really good. Good hit points, size 2, so 3 per square. That's cool. 12 invul. I think that's my general opinion about demons for all the Chaos factions. I feel like their protection values, the invulnerability values, are too low. Like 12 protection to 12 invul, it's like light armor, slightly better light armor. Like I like the fact that magic weapons would actually wreck them, just like it's kind of in lore where you need magic weapons to deal with demons, but like mundane weapons can kill them just fine. There's really not a problem. Even on big demons, it doesn't go higher than like 15 or 16, something like that. I'd move it by like maybe like even 20 or 25 points for something like Demon Prince or Great Unclean One, or the equivalent variants for Slanesh and Khorne. And maybe those guys start with like 16, but that's just my opinion. I really didn't get to use those because I didn't get rot. And summoning spells of those demons, I would say they're rather inefficient, both turn-wise and gem-wise. Later in the Conjuration or Blood, because Nurgle is unique in the sense that you can, I think it's unique, where you can get them for Death Gems in Conjuration and Blood in Blood, while Slanesh and Khorne can only get them from Blood. So that's pretty cool that Nurgle has Conjuration. If I'm not wrong, I think it's only Nurgle that has that. But yeah, those guys come with built-in magic weapon and a repelling demon fly, similar to the Blightkin. So yeah, really solid troop. Even better if it's a free spawn. Demons get weaker outside of your dominion, so I think they lose some invulnerability, and I think they lose some strength, maybe even stats. I can't quite recall, but yeah, they're fine. It's just they're inefficient to summon for gems, and I think you'd rather save your gems to be summoning Demon Princes and Great Unclean Ones later in the game. That's a Pox Rider, being just a Plague Bearer on a Toad. They're basically like your chosen knights, except they don't have really armor, and yeah, they're just worse. But they have built-in magic weapons. That's the good part. So okay, that's cool. We have drone riders, which is they're interesting in the sense that it's a flyer, so you have something that attacks rear. But again, they lack durability. That's what I feel like. They lack durability because of no armor, and protection is rather limited. So for the cost of summoning them, if you lose them, that's gonna suck, and you can lose them very easily. But hey, those can be clutch. Again, built-in magic weapons. Actually, quite a decent number of attacks. So 200 Drone Claws, Drone Stinger, which is also armor-piercing magical damage. That's really good. And yeah, Plague Spear itself is solid enough. So yeah, I can see using them. Again, they're just quite expensive to summon. Then we have just a Drone Rider without right. So when the Plague Bearer dies, you're left with this thing, but it's gonna leave you after the combat. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, it's still gonna contribute in a fight. It's not like it's useless. It actually gets more tanky. So that's funny. We have Beast of Nurgle. I genuinely don't see much point in making it. Like, it has built-in regeneration and it has high hit points. It has fear, but again, protection is lacking. It's just 1 per square. The attacks are of bad quality. So although this one is swallowing, so I wonder. I think it has to still hit to swallow. The unique thing about it has that slime, which is just repelling weapon. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think it just serves purpose of repelling. I don't know. I really don't feel a need of ever summoning this thing. I'm sure it can be useful in some circumstances, but it can soak up evocations, for example, or banishes, or not banishes, smites, I guess. It's also undisciplined, like, ew. Maybe if it had also promotion mechanic where it would turn to Great Unclean One, like, I don't know, 80 experience, something like that. Hey, that would be cool. I could see a point of summoning Beast of Nurgle, since it's early in our research, of summoning so potentially becomes a Great Unclean One. That would be something, but as it is, I don't know why would I want to summon it. It's not cheap at all. It does cost a decent number of dev gems. We have Plague Toads, and I really didn't use those, I'm pretty sure. So this one is when the rider dies, it's left with Swallowing Maw and Festering Bile attack. Good hit points. Again, it becomes more tanky, which is funny. And there's a variant of just being like an animal attack. Although this one is discipline, actually. So It can be definitely good with the swallowing. Like if some people don't expect it, some troops will get just swallowed, even if they're quite elite size 2 units. Like for example, Chaos Warriors. We have Heron of Nurgle. Okay, this is much more useful now. So this is Summon Holy 2 commander with good undead leadership and decent enough regular leadership. It can be thuggy. It can be a little bit of a thug, but it's much more a case, at least I believe, of someone that you can use to bless your units without your prophet and not using mages for that purpose, right? So you want your mages to be casting buffs. This guy blesses you, and eventually you're gonna get hopefully unclean ones which have divine blessing. So those guys are not bad for just being blessed monkeys. And hey, they summon some Nurglings at the start of battle. Why not? It's useful. It also gives them some defense against assassination thanks to that. Cool. Now, this is Nurgle Demon Prince, and I am absolutely in love with this guy. I think this is the best Demon Prince out of all Chaos factions, being, Slanesh and Khorne. There's no Sench. Hopefully Sombre will make it for Dominion 6, because I don't think he'll have a time of making it before the Dominion 6 releases. But yeah, those guys are amazing. So you have all the paths you could possibly want, realistically, without being too greedy, okay? Yeah, sure, you can have Astral too at that, but... Here's your Iron Skin and Temper Flesh, and hell, with Gem Earth Power. Here's your Soul Vortex. Here's your Regeneration. Here is your Reinvigoration if you want to, or later in the game, like Damage Reversal. This matters less. You can also, of course, wrap them up in a Communion, or rather Sabbath, for the big battles. They're huge commanders with morale bonuses. They're priests too, so they can self-bless themselves. Fear. Again, look at that. Evil 13. I feel like those guys should be 20. Like their protection built-in is 9. And they have 13 invul? Like, come on. Like, what's the point? Like, they can Iron Skin themselves. Like, really? I think they could have at least 20. And that will be fine. No matter. Some built-in resistances, especially against poison. They're flyers, recuperation. Of course, demon, which is a bad tag, technically, because of various counters. Disease resistant, affliction resistance 2, which is great. It's not like they're gonna suddenly get really chopped in a combat and you lose magic buffs, lose an arm, lose a weapon, get a chest wound. That really helps. And the big important one, immortality of 6 months. So as long as those guys die within your dominion, they come back. The cool effect of that is also that they don't rout in combat, ever. Unless you get like incredibly like unlucky roll against fear or something, because it is possible to run as morale 30. I did see that happen. So thanks to that, they're very good defensively. Like you can throw them sometimes at combat that you're unsure about, and even if they die, as long as you don't lose capital in the meantime, they come back to serve you again. Their starting gear is solid enough armor wise. The weapon, not so much. It's okay. It's built-in magic damage. It's length free thanks to their size. But that effect is like completely irrelevant. Like you're hitting him for 30 damage. Like why do you want disease? Piercing is cool. I'm surprised it's not armor piercing, honestly. Like Slanesh gets their princes have armor piercing on their claws. That are like crab's claw, and this guy doesn't have armor piercing in his like ginormous spider legs. Whatever. Like I'm also surprised he just 1 attack instead of like 2, but it's fine. They're still really good, regardless of that. Don't get me wrong. With some basic gear that you can craft as Nurgle, so Frostbrand, Vine Shield, oh gosh, Ring of Regeneration, Boot of the Messenger, Horn Helmet. You don't even have to fill that chest because chest is good enough. But you later in the game, why not put Armor of Knight so they lose some encumbrance penalty and increase their defense? And here you slot in whatever else you need. Yeah, they're amazing super combatants. They can wipe armies on their own easily. And while Core Knight Prince will shit on them, so why it would shit on them? They need buffs to become really good. and Core Knight guy will just jump on them because he doesn't care about casting spells, and he's like dual wielding really weapons dedicated to killing another super combatant or fag. So yeah, in straight fight he's probably gonna lose, at least until he gets his buffs up. And Slanesh one is more finicky. I feel like Slanesh ones are more combat, like army support guys. They're also size 5 instead of size 6, so even their size suggests that they're smaller, weaker. But they're Aaron Astral mages, so they're probably better as combat mages. Your divine, actually no, they don't have divine blast, so and they're also holy too. They also don't have food slot, while these guys do. So because they're like they have slimy body or something. So I think those are guys the best, which is fine because I think like again mages are slightly weaker than Slanesh and troops are slightly weaker than Khorne, like in straight up fight. So Nurgle is, you know, the better, the middle of both worlds. And hey, Nurgle honestly is my favorite Chaos faction. You know, I'm not much of a Chaos player, neither in 40k nor in Fantasy. But if I was to play one, it would be Nurgle. Maybe it's Sench. It depends. I liked Sench in 40k. In Fantasy, I do like a Nurgle more. And finally, you have Great Unclean One. So, Evil 15. Really? And he doesn't have chest slot. Like, yeah, he can Iron Skin himself, so he's gonna have 20 protection, but he's much less durable. Even though he has much more HP, I feel like he's much less durable than the Prince. Like, again, I think I'll give him like 25 Invul. But yeah, he does have Grab and Swallow. I guess size 2 still. Like, honestly, I think that could, because he's so huge, maybe that could be increased against like size 3s. Why? I think he could eat Cavalry. But he has Plague Breath, which is cool. It's Area Fear, chance of being used in melee. So that can rout units actually quite cool, quite quickly. Ancient Plague Sword is also quite good, built in 2 attacks. So yeah, even though damage is actually low on the weapon, and it's only one-handed weapon, because of huge strength, it does hit like a truck and, you know, twice. But yeah, this guy is more of an army commander and support than proper super combatants. I think princes do super combatant role better because they're flying and they have armor slot, while this guy doesn't have armor and has only crown. So yeah, still they're great. All right, divine 3 and in sub-buff they can cast various important battlefield buffs and whatnot. Similar story, Dominion Mortality 6 months. Yeah, but I wish they were better, honestly. Sorry, and they get 3d6 Nurglings since Battlestar, so I'm not sure if it can explode. I'm pretty sure it can explode, so there can be a wave of Nurglings coming just from this guy. Makes it also funny and annoying to assassinate him with all the Nurglings. But yeah, no, lack of the chest slot. Crown is fine because there are good crowns that you can put on them, but lack of chest slot is really big deal. And it makes sense. I mean, like, you cannot put a chest on this thing. Like, what kind of armor that will have to be? But I think there are a couple of things that could make him better because, yeah, I think he's the weakest of the big demons that Chaos can summon. Khorne can get absolute murderer, like the Bloodthirster, I believe. Yeah, he doesn't have magic paths, but he doesn't need them. He's just absolute menace in melee, and can get armor piece, so that's cool. He's gonna have better protection without having magic than the Unclean One. And he can just chop that Unclean One easily with dual wielding weapons he has, with various fire effects to that. And Slanesh one is, again, kind of slightly better battlefield magic, astral and air. You know, it's arguable, of course, because nature and death are still fantastic, but it depends. It depends, okay? Those are more of a super combatant paths than spellcaster, I feel like, and he doesn't do the super combatant role as good as Prince. But Slanesh one has seduction. So he's basically someone that can steal you a very good mage that you wouldn't have access to, or assassinate a mage if you fail at seduction, right? That's awesome. And also, they are both Bloodthirster and Keeper of Secrets are way more mobile than this chunker. Like, it's 16 map move. At least he can take boots. But he's not flying, so he's not as good as, for example, if you really want to rush for a throne or reinforce some army with Divine Blessing and whatnot. no, he's amazing, right? Don't get me wrong, he's great. I think he would be a little bit better. So that's the summons. And we have Chaos Lord as in between Exalted Hero and Demon Prince. You can also get Chaos Lord as a multi-hero together with Sorcerer Lord. And yeah, it's okay. Like it's just some improvement over Exalted Hero just because he guy jumps on a toad. The weapon, loses that extra attack but becomes built-in magical. So that's pretty neat. Oh, you also have Forsaken Warriors. There's just a chance that when your Chaos Warriors fail their ascension, they become Forsaken Warrior, or they will become. Hold on. Oh, okay. That's unfortunate. I'm pretty sure. Okay. Sorry. There we go. Yeah, Nurgle spawn. So when your Chaos Warriors or your Chaos Lords fail their ascension from experience gain, they can become one of the spawns. Usually when it's Lord failing, he will become greater. When it's troops failing, they become lesser. The best one is, of course, this one. I think it's a thing that should not be, just slightly reskin, and it's the best one you can get. There's this one. This one's mainly best because it actually has magical, really good attacks and regeneration. I think most of them have regeneration, yeah. Let's just take a quick look. You really don't count on Chaos Spawns as a fighting force. I feel like they're just neat flavorful thing because they are very easy to kill by themselves. Of course, point buffs are a thing. Being mixed is a thing, but they're all undisciplined, so they just run forward. They can swing fights for you, but they're just a addition. Like I'm pretty sure you'd rather have your Chaos Warriors level up to your Sacreds than become a Chaos Spawn, right? And definitely that's true for your commanders. And my game froze. Hello, Dominions. Hold on. Okay, there we go. And there's also a Leech Lord, which I don't know. I went Misfortune my build, as you're gonna see. That's a cool thing that he casts Regeneration. Oh, that's really cool. That will be quite nice to have. That guy in various combat, he's Dominion Spreader. He also heals wounds. He also rips a little bit, but it's not a bad hero. I know Korn has better hero for sure in form of Scarbrand, and I don't remember what Sonesh has. Actually, I don't remember, but it's nice if you get them. It's not a big deal. I wouldn't make my strategy around this guy. But taking luck is perfectly valid as chaos. So. Hey, that's that. Nurgle is great. Now I'm gonna show you my Thunder, which is going to be a Trinity, and I don't like Trinities, but that's the only chassis that I got to do what I wanted to do. So Turmoil free is no brainer as chaos because your Dominion had to turmoil free anyways. Production free is also no brainer because you want Chaos Warriors, unless you want to do just more others. I don't know, maybe it's valid then. Cold free, you don't get as much Dominion points as you would if you went hit 1, but it plays to your strength a little bit. Now that's the big one. I need those points. Yeah, you see what I did? So I'm going a little bit Hellblessy with Death. Misfortune 2 and Magic 1. That's needed for quickness. They're in prison, of course, but I feel like the quality of your troops is perfectly good enough that if you play well and not get teamed and stuff like that, you will live long enough to get your guts out. And oh my god, your Sacreds become absolute murderers with quickness. And your super combatants get better too. That's pretty great. Some basic resistances. You really don't need attack when you are quickened. And defense doesn't go well with flails, right? You have too big of a malice to bother with it. And your super combatants, again, they're more of a protection and regenerative super combatants than like trying to stack defense. So that's where resistances come in. Fire helps you in case because you're gonna use the wooden warriors in protection, so it helps you that offsets your malice that you're gonna get from protection buffing, so you're not gonna get wrecked by like fire elementals and some fire evocations, for example. And shock resistance, because you are highly armored army, highly armored troops. Air spells are one of the early ways they can really do an number on you. So at least before the hard hitting shock spells come into play, this gives you some protection from also AoE effects, from some thug items such as whip. I'd love to fit in 4th point for 15. I think if you can, you go 15 for the shock resistant, but I couldn't, and it's better than not having it. Quickness is quickness. I mean, it's great. With Earth, I'm going for Strength. This stacks up nicely with Flails, just getting extra points of damage. Together with magic weapons, because while I'll be relying in late game mainly on super combatants, various counters to regular sacreds without magic weapons, such as body ethereal, can come into play and mess you up. So that deals with that issue. For late game, it's of course Mist Form that it helps you with. When I can, I tend to avoid magic weapons, but because I'm leaning so much into my sacreds with quickness, quickness without magic weapons would be a bit silly, I feel like. Otherwise, it'll be magic resistance. I went for Undying Free just because later in the game I will have access to regeneration, mass regeneration, so that's gonna give me that extra buffer of troops not dying. And can matter sometimes in the early game. That one troop that will still die at the end of combat, lift through it to win you the fight, right? And here is the weak part of my Bless, which I very much regret. Resilience is actually great, because it does bump a couple of your units, such as, I believe, Putrid Blightkin, for example. But one extra hit point for the regeneration again in the future. But Forest Survival was a mistake. I would 100% exchange that Forest Survival for plus 10 poison resistance. The reason for that is, while your Sacreds do have poison resistance of 10 built in, your Shamans don't. Your Shamans have only 3. And maybe not even 10. I would have plus 5. And like extra point of and double point into low light vision. So there's 100 dark vision for your troops. Yeah, that's what I would do. Resilient 1 point, 2 low light visions, and 1 point of poison resistance. Because this way that I did it, unfortunately, I have to cast the poison resistance spells, right? The Serpent Ward, and that's use of gems. That gems I have to carry. That's a spell I have to cast. Yeah, sure. I would have to still cast those if I was to bring my regular warriors, right? Because I want them to die to my own Fall Vapors. But I think that later in the game, my Chaos Warriors will usually level up during long campaigns, for example, to become either spawns or my chosen warriors. So they are fine. They will get that poison resistance anyways, but Marauders will not. And yeah, that I think I messed up with that. Forest Survival, I thought it's gonna be cute in sense that it's gonna help me with mobility if there's like a forest and I want to move 2 provinces still with my troops. It really didn't go that well. It's cute, okay. And Blood Surge, no brainer. Again, like my troops are super deadly, super killy. That's just gonna make them even more absurd. Flail will become plus 5 strength, so that's gonna be like what, 28 per hit, something like that, I think. And they're hitting twice per turn. Sorry, they're hitting 2 times twice per turn, right? Because they're quicken and Flail hits twice, and they're gonna swing again. They're absolute murder machines. I love them. So yeah, that's the Bless, that's the Pretender. I really don't like using Trinities because of the spread they end up with. Although it's interesting that because you go 10 in that one path, it actually all of them gets 5, so that's pretty cool. But I didn't really research how the split will work exactly, to be fair, when I made them. And what's gonna happen is that I will not have Earth Astral Crosspath, which is pretty important one. I will not have high enough. Oh, I'm trying to think of something else. I know I'll miss a couple extra, but the big one is Earth Astral for coin, for example, because yeah, they can also wear chess pieces, so that's an issue for a couple other boosters such as Nature Oh, right. I will not also have Astral Nature. That's also the big blow. That means I will not be able to get the bracelet for the nature boost. It's fine, okay? Like they can still do a lot of useful crafting and rituals, and they allow me to take the Skull Bless. That's yeah, very very potent for the late game for sure. So yeah, I mean, hey, this is it. A pretty long video. I hope you enjoyed it if you stayed for the whole thing. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time. Enjoy the game when I start uploading it.